Welcome to Season 3 of the Twendé podcast. Twendé, meaning let's go in Kiswahili, is an accelerator focused on equipping Tennessee-based Black and Brown founders with the resources needed to grow and scale their businesses. I'm M. Wilder, Twendé Program Manager here at the Nashville Entrepreneur Center, and your host of the Twendé podcast. We're grateful for support from the David and Rebecca Clements family with additional funding from the Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee. Thank you for believing in our mission. For past seasons and our latest episodes, visit ec.co/Twendé podcast. Let's go. All right, what's good, everybody? Welcome to episode 8 of the Twendé podcast. We're here with Carlos Partee, serial entrepreneur, radio personality, and co-founder of the Nashville Black Market. Welcome to the show, Carlos.
Thank you for having me, Em. I'm looking forward to being on here. It's a blessing. So
It is. Let's jump in. So as we wrap this season up, question that we kick off every episode with is, when you think about those folks that keep you motivated in life and business, who are your starting 5? What are the 5 people or entities that keep you progressing in life and business?
yeah. Oh, wait, this is a great question. Got right into it. I guess 5. Let me put my fingers up so I can count. I'm gonna go with God. Family, my wife, my supporters, and my mentors. Yeah, I think that's a really good starting 5, and I may be missing a few. My parents. I think they count for like family and all those things. But I think that's a really good starting 5 because you need God in your life. You need a family for your support. You need supporters for your outside support. You need somebody that can hold you down, and then you need people who can hold you accountable as well. So
I appreciate that, especially in terms of accountability. I've been reflecting a lot on that for myself. Like, who are the people in my life who are going to hold me accountable to the goals I set? Who's going to give me that, constructive criticism, that honest feedback? So approaching that, I guess leaning into those relationships right now is something that I'm doing, that I've probably steered away from in the past. So I appreciate you sharing that with the listeners. So let's kind of run it back. Let's go to the beginning. I've heard, as a newer Nashvillian via Chicago, I've heard people talk about unicorns, talk about the folks who are still in Nashville or who have come back to Nashville, born and raised, have shaped this city and played a large role in the city that it is today and what it will become. Can you talk a little bit about your story and journey through entrepreneurship? Just tell us a little bit about little Carlos, kind of and getting to this point of where you're situated today.
Yeah, unicorns, they are definitely correct. We are unicorns in this space, but we shine bright. Unlike any other animal, I guess, here in the city. A little Carlos, wow, little Carlos. I'm born and raised in North Nashville, 37208, which incidentally is like the highest incarcerated area in America. So I grew up seeing a lot of things. I grew up, in the mix of a lot of things. Honestly, my first taste of entrepreneurship was my great aunt, my great great aunt, and my great great uncle. They owned a nightclub in my neighborhood. And I'm telling you, this nightclub was the best. It was just like, it reminded you of Cheers. It reminded you of like a place where everybody called home. Elders from the community, they would gather there, young folks, they would gather there. And as a kid, I was there. I had no business being there, but I was there. I was the chosen one because I was the little nephew that was just chubby and running around getting people pickles and chips and candy. I wasn't taking anybody beers at this time, but I was, I was that little kid. This place was called the Community Center. The beer garden is what, we started to kind of call it. And I remember as a kid, not really understanding what I was in. I was just thinking it was just a place for them to congregate and for them to, kind of be in a space of where they can drink and have a good time and just, fellowship. But what I didn't realize was I was really being brought up in a community. And that was my first taste of community and entrepreneurship in its finest, because I was able to see, you know, how my great aunt, she was sharp. She was mean, but she was like fun as well. She like kept that club running. Like nothing bad ever really happened there. Like she was really a great person. She held this community together. People would come all over just to make sure that she was okay and, you know, make sure she was all right. And so my great uncle, he kind of was like in the background, and I didn't realize it then until I got like a little bit older. And I remember being in the neighborhood doing stuff I wasn't supposed to do, and he rolled by, seen me on the corner one day, he said, "Hey, hop in the car with me. Like, you shouldn't be outside. Like, come with me." And he took me around, and he drove me around to the properties that he owned. So I got to see like all the properties that he owned. He owned at least 15 properties in the neighborhood. He owned like some gumball machines in different places. He showed me, you know, the gumball machines. He showed me the money he was making from there. But that day he kind of opened my eyes up until like to see honestly around in my community, to, you know, see what else was possible. You know, growing up in a neighborhood like the one that I grew up in, you didn't really see a lot of great examples of entrepreneurship, or you didn't really see a lot of great examples just set forward as a young black male, to be able to kind of have like somebody like my great uncle who, you know, would give me $100 if I got an A on my report card. Like that really, you know, guided me into like, okay, I could really do this. I can use my voice. I got these great marketing skills. I've got this, you know, like really bright personality, which, you know, I was growing into at the time, but I was still very insecure of myself just because I, you know, just being a child, you know, not having someone to pull that power out of me. And so, like, I took that with me, like, everywhere I went, and it started to instill in me to where, you know, in middle school, I was selling chips, candy to the students around me. I tell this story very briefly. This is a funny
Let's
story.
go. I'm ready.
So, during this time, I'm 31. So during this time, it was this really huge wave of like tennis shoe crave. Tennis shoes were like the thing. And in middle school, some kind of way, I found some fake tennis shoes in the midst of real tennis shoes. Nobody really questioned me about selling fake tennis shoes because I had a really great, I had a wholesale plug on them. So like, in middle school, I was learning about wholesale. I was learning about profit margins and not really even understanding it. So I got these tennis shoes. I went to Atlanta, grabbed these tennis shoes. I had plenty of them, all different types of kinds, Jordans, Nikes. Please don't come after me, Jordan and Nike. If anything, come for a collaboration, if anything. This is a full circle story for you. So I had these tennis shoes, my mom's husband at the time. And he was like, you know, let's sell these tennis shoes. Like, you got people, you know, in your school who would love to buy them. And they did love buying them. I got so good at selling these tennis shoes. I had the teachers, the janitors buying these tennis shoes. I would literally have tennis shoes in my locker and selling them after lunch. Like, I was really that good. I went from selling chips and candies to CDs with, you know, I don't know if y'all remember making burnt CDs. I would burn CDs and put music on them and sell them to my classmates.
Oh, yeah.
I went from those stages of like selling chips, candy, CDs to selling tennis shoes. And I was really good at it. I learned the lesson one time as far as like selling tennis shoes, and that really deterred me from selling them again, because in the game of entrepreneurship, somebody's always watching, somebody's always keeping their eyes on you. And so, long story short, I got really good at selling these tennis shoes. I remember being in the mall one day with my grandmother, and I walked past Foot Locker, and the lady at Foot Locker was like, "Hey, you the guy selling the fake tennis shoes." I stopped in the middle of my grandmother was like, "Uh-oh." And she was like, "Hey, you need to come fill out an application." I was 14 at the time. You should fill out an application with us, because if you're really this good at selling fake tennis shoes, come sell real tennis shoes with us.
Wow. I did not know where that was going to go for a moment, but I'm glad it was like, she recognized
something in me that I didn't see in myself at the time. And I'm glad she did, because that literally took me over the edge of like, how to really sell. I learned marketing. I learned how to be a salesperson. I learned how to like actually understand what SWOT, sell what's available today. Like I learned all those really great techniques from Foot Locker. And so I got my first job at 14 at Foot Locker. And so like from there on, literally I was beating the pavement. I started a clothing brand in high school, selling t-shirts in high school, and just being this really cool popular guy. I was playing sports and some of those things, but I never really looked at entrepreneurship as like my claim to fame. I thought I was gonna be a basketball player. I thought I was gonna be, this famous artist or, whatever it may be. But I think that was like the start of entrepreneurship for me. It was just like seeing what other people couldn't see and being able to sell it to them.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing some of those earlier stories and recognizing it as such a, even though you didn't necessarily realize maybe entrepreneurship was the long game for you, you clearly were recognizing, I hear you claiming like, I was good at this and I was really good at this. Like that recognition, I feel like sets you apart from a lot of young folks. And yes, I remember burnt CDs. I'm about to turn 37 tomorrow.
Happy early birthday.
So yeah, I remember cassette tapes, but we're not here to talk about that. Okay, and thank you. So let's fast forward. So can we talk about the inception of Nashville Black Market? What did you recognize? Where was there a void? What was the process that you went through in terms of standing this community up?
Wow, 2017, really 2016, 2017. Like I said, I had started a clothing brand in high school and I ended the clothing brand with a few business partners. Didn't work out. So I started another clothing brand, Cashville, etc. And at the time, my cousin, he had a clothing brand as well. And we just communicated on the phone. It was just, like I said, it was at the time not really having a lot of peers in entrepreneurship or having mentors. So we were just, giving each other game back and forth like, hey, you should do this or you should go here. Where's the best place for wholesale? Those type of conversations. And we got on the phone one day. We was just like, man, I really want a brick and mortar location. And I was like, man, me too. I want a place where people can congregate. They can come and purchase the clothing. They can meet me. They can, we can talk and we can just kind of build a relationship here in Nashville. And rent was sky high. It was just like, there's no way we're going to be able to afford a brick and mortar location. And he was just like, yeah, I don't think it's going to happen for me either. And so we would just have these conversations of like, if we're having the same problem, how many other people are having the same problem as well? And the inception was then right there. It was just like, man, let's do this pop-up shop. That's what we were calling. Let's do a pop-up shop. Let's put our brands together and then let's add a few other more brands and just host and congregate in this one space and help these businesses, but also help ourselves at the time. And we didn't realize helping ourselves was helping plenty of other businesses as well. And so we started this event 2017, 2018, 15 business owners, 2 food trucks in the middle of North Nashville in a very small location. I mean, very small. I just told the story yesterday about like how we didn't have a contract. So the guy literally went up on the price the day of the event. He didn't clean the space, so I had to go borrow my grandmother's vacuum and vacuum the event just to make it, the presentation really great. And so those 15 businesses, maybe like 3 to 5 of them were like very skeptical of like, okay, we're in this small space. You sure this is gonna work? Like, this is nothing. Like, I don't think this is gonna be great. Literally 1,000 people showed up. And we were just like, okay, I think we've got something. And from that day, literally, we've been like building. So we went from a very small space to a community center, to a church, to a venue, and then to, on and on. And then we ended up getting a residency at the farmer's market. We ended up hosting events at the fairgrounds. We ended up traveling. It just all came so fast, but it's literally over the course of a couple years of like us building this brand to what you see today.
I love to see it. And I had the pleasure of being backstage a couple weeks ago at the Next Awards, which were on the evening of October 21st, 2024. And you were up for an award. And I actually heard from, I'm not gonna spoil things, but I heard from some people at your table that you maybe had some doubts. And I'll just share, I want to hear from your perspective, just in terms of being recognized, right? Because you went home with the award. I want to hear from you. Can you reflect on just the timing of that award, and what has that done for you as you think about what's next for Nashville Black Market? What's next for you? What did that feel like? Because from my perspective, I saw, and I know I got to walk off stage with you.
Got to saw the raw emotions.
Yeah, you were overcome with emotion.
Yeah.
And behind you as you walked up, it was like the wave of the room. I mean, everyone was on their feet by the time you reached the stage. I guess I want to ask two questions. So what I witnessed in that moment was kind of, I almost got emotional just witnessing, especially being newer in the space and having a lot of respect for you and what I know about you thus far. Just the recognition was like, you could feel it. It was heavy in the space of the appreciation for all that you've accomplished in this leading up to this moment. But what was that like for you? And I guess I want to ask, like, let's start there. What was it like for you to walk up to the stage, go home that night as a winner? What was going through your mind?
It was surreal. I honestly just felt like they were gonna take the award back, because I was just like, "Are y'all serious? Are you serious?"
Back.
Like, the whole night was like, I was just nervous. I was like nervous. I was nervous. Literally, before I got there, when I was there, like I had my head down the whole time. I couldn't look at the screen at all, just to, like, every time it would get to the next award, I'd be like, okay, we're getting closer. Okay, we're getting closer. Like, I do remember talking to some of the people at my table, and they were, I had one winner, I had another runner-up, and then the rest, were just other entrepreneurs, business owners, supporters. And I could just remember, like, just the nerves just eating me up. And I would literally be sitting there, and they'd be like, you're next, or you got this, and I'm just like, I don't know. I was going against some really heavy hitters, DeAndrews Bakery, the Cordell. Those are places and spaces and people that, you look up to in entrepreneurship, and you see them, amongst yourself in the city, and you're like, okay, they're doing really great work. And so to be going up against, like, some giant competitors, it was really, it was a surreal moment just to be able to walk up, hear your name, and be called. I was literally waiting for that theme music. I was like, if my theme music comes on, I won. Like, I wouldn't look at the screen, and when she said the name, I was just like, I didn't know what to do. It was just like you said, it was breathtaking. I immediately just, like, tears just started, like, just forming, because, like you said, being a unicorn here in Nashville, you don't really get recognized for some of the work and some of the persistence, the dedication that you put in. A lot of people don't see it. They only see the glitz and glamour. They only see the cool stuff. They only see the stats. They don't see, like, the endless nights. They don't see the hardships. They don't see they don't see none of the bad stuff. They only see the good stuff, and that's only what we portray. And I think in my journey, I've been fortunate enough to be able to kind of showcase both. I can show my lessons, I can show my failures, I can show, the wins, and I can still feel good about it at the end of the day, because I know I gave my all. And to be able to kind of give my all to something and be able to be recognized and win an award, and, for me and my team, my partner, it was just like, we won? Like, seriously? Like, we've won some awards. We've been, nominated, and, like, but Entrepreneur Center, Next Awards, like, that was a big deal to me. It was just like, wow, we're up. This is like, it's like the Grammys, the Oscars in a sense, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I got on my black tie and like I'm dressed to the nines. Everybody here is like literally the goats of business. Like I'm sitting here watching, you know, some of the most quote unquote famous entrepreneurs here in Nashville, or some of the best of the brightest in this room, and I'm just looking at them like, okay, cool. I'm growing. I'm 31 years old. I have so much more to, you know, give and to offer and to learn. And so to be able to win this award, when I walked up the stage, I was just like, please don't fall, please don't fall. Like, and I could hear the claps, and I can hear it was just an emotional thing. I didn't want to look back. I didn't want to, you know, look to the side. I didn't want to, like, it was just like focus on the moment, like get there. And once I got the award and I seen you, and I just broke down. It was just one of those moments to where it's like all the work that we've been doing, you know, you still got to continue to keep putting in the work, but just to be in a moment like that and to receive an award for something that you've literally put your blood, sweat, and tears into. Like, people don't literally see that I prepared 30 days for only one event. Like, this is like my day job. So I'm literally constantly working to support and uplift Black-owned businesses, but also curate these like festivals here in Nashville. And like, I'm fighting behind doors for entrepreneurs and for, you know, spaces for us to continue to congregate and to be our authentic self. And so like, people don't really see the stress that you put into this, because it's definitely stressful. But to be able to kind of have that moment in time and that night, it was just like amazing. I know I went home. I didn't want to go to sleep. I was just like up. I was just like, okay, let's party. Like, let's have some fun. And so it was just amazing. And to be, you know, congratulated by, you know, some of the greats, and, you know, some people that I look up to, people that are my mentors, or people that I've never even met before, you know, shake my hand and say, hey, congratulations, I've heard great things about you. And so, you know, it just makes me feel like we've got more work to do, and how do I continue to build a better place for us here in Nashville.
I appreciate you sharing all that. And I'm like, from what I know about you, letting yourself have this high moment, celebrating your blood, sweat, and tears in the midst of folks who you look up to, folks who are getting inducted into the Entrepreneurship Hall of Fame. It's beautiful, but I also heard you say that you gotta get back to work.
Yeah.
So, and I just so appreciate that says a lot about you, Carlos. So when you think about, all right, I'm gonna take this momentum, I'm gonna take this energy, I'm gonna take this, you know, beyond this moment, but this award and everything that it means to you and all that you reflect upon, what is next when you think about, I want to ask first, what's next for Nashville Black Market, and then maybe get into some larger pieces just around, you know, the community, Black folks, founders of color participating in Nashville's growth. But let's start with Nashville Black Market and you, Carlos. Like, when you think about it's time to get back to work, it's time we got to work harder. What does that look like? What's next?
Yeah. I literally just told somebody this yesterday. I was just like, hey, I'm afraid to share my goals now, because I feel like I've got to have this vision. I'm putting my faith into God and letting him show me where my goals are next, because I feel like every time we put something on the board, every time we, you know, say we want to do this and we want to do that, we learn a lesson from it. And, you know, it's a really great thing. Like I said, we've done the retail store. That didn't pan out the way that we wanted to, but it was a lesson. It was something that we learned, and we've been able to give advice and game and guidance to other business owners that are going into entrepreneurship and want to open a brick and mortar. I had 3 brick and mortars at the same time. I don't know why I was doing that. I was very crazy. Just don't open up 3 stores at the same time. Please don't.
Noted.
But the podcast studio, recording studio, doing that, we still have that location. But literally every time, you know, we try and do something new, bigger and brighter, sometimes it feels like it's not appreciated. And so I think the goal is to figure out where we need to go. where we need to harness, where we need to figure out our weaknesses are, and figure out how to make them stronger, how we can keep building better spaces here for Nashvillians, for people who come into Nashville to feel like they have a place to go and to be celebrated and to support. It's so many things that we want to do, but I think the biggest thing that we need to continue to do that is funding. That's the biggest part. We've bootstrapped pretty much this whole entire time. We've spent so much money, so much, like I said, time, blood, sweat, and tears putting into this business, and we need to figure out how to make that come tenfold. We need to figure out how we can make sure that that money comes back into us, but also to where we can continue to put it back into others. And so like I said, some of those goals are funding. It's figuring out how we can make more money, how we can figure out how to help more businesses and create a space here that's not just looking good on Instagram or stats. We want to make sure we make real impact. And that's like our biggest thing, is like being in entrepreneurship is like you kind of, everybody looks good on screen and camera, but I want to feel good when I'm off screen and camera as well. So like our goal is to make sure that the future doesn't look like what the past was. And so that, yeah. And so
you're speaking too much truth on Election Day 2024. Goodness gracious. The future, we don't want the future to look like the past. Okay, yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
No, but seriously, I think that's the goal, is like, how do we do that? And we have some goals that are attainable, whether it's going into different cities and being able to kind of give that same blueprint that we've created here in Nashville, and being able to, create these immersive experiences here for organizations, companies, and just the community at large. There's so many things that we want to do, but I also think it's up to what Nashville, in a sense, I don't want to say allows us to do, but what we can do with what we have, what we're working with. So, yeah.
There's a lot that you do for the community, in particular uplifting Black businesses in Nashville. You obviously care deeply about this community. Conversations that I've been having and like trying to listen a lot, just in terms of being newer in the space, really trying to get to know all the different folks that make up kind of the fabric of, in particular, Black Nashville. The city obviously has experienced and continues to experience a lot of growth. And you mentioned kind of maybe some kind of playing within the bounds of what Nashville allows. Yeah. But beyond that, when you think about the growth that the city will continue to experience beyond just the Titan Stadium and things like that, like, what are ways in which you feel like, I guess, what advice would you give to, up-and-coming founders, up-and-coming Black creatives in the city with regard to, like, how do we ensure, because I don't think we can necessarily rely on the powers that be, but how do we ensure that we are able to, founders are able to, the Black community is able to participate and have stake in the growth that the city is experiencing and promoting?
Yeah. Man, that's a really great question. It's been like the question of the year, honestly, is like, what are we supposed to be doing right now? How do we do that? For one, I think for far too long, we've been fighting over the same amount of money. We've been chasing the same bags.
It's like a scarcity mindset.
It's a scarcity mindset, yes. In a sense, sometimes a crab's in a bucket barrel. It's like we're like all fighting for the same piece. When you look at the Nashville, you look at the sky, they're consistently building, they're consistently growing. So the things that we're fighting over are not the same things that, not necessarily other ethnicities, other demographics, they're fighting over. And so, like, I think figuring out exactly what that looks like for us and how can we continue to grow and build within what we're dealt. I think sometimes we're not working together enough. And I think a lot of the times we have to take our egos out of the situation. And this is not to bash my community, but I think this is just something for us to understand and to see. And sometimes, you may want to work with a lot of people. You want to work with the who's, but sometimes you got to work with who works with you. And I think that's what we've been able to do really well, is work with the people that want to work with us, the allies, the organizations, the partners. Like, if you're not, for us, or if you're not trying to help us, you're only trying to help your agenda, that ulterior motive that you have, we're getting out of your way, because we've done that. We've done that for multiple years. I've been used. We've been used and abused to the point where it doesn't make sense anymore. And it's like, how do we take what we've built and continue to build, and somebody else doesn't come and take and use the same model and build for them in this situation over there? It's like, how do we build for everybody? How do we bring everybody to the table? And, in a sense, I think we talk about gatekeeping a lot. Here in Nashville, we have this like mindset of gatekeeping, but also we have this mindset of like, somebody from another city can come in and they can pretty much do whatever they want to do and leave us in the dust. And like, we'll only take 1 or 2 people from Nashville and they'll build, but it's like they leave everybody in the past. And like they say in the quote, everybody can't go. Which is honestly true. But it's like, for the next entrepreneur, or for the next business owner that's, watching this interview and they're wondering how we're doing this, how they're doing that, I ask myself the same thing. I just show up constantly, day in, day out. I show up. I go to the things that people don't want to go to. I go to the conversations that people don't want to go to. I have those tough conversations. I have those relationships with people. I'm constantly trying to build my portfolio. I'm constantly trying to, understand why Nashville is this way, why this city is that way, how and where do I need to be to make sure that this happens? How do I get this sponsorship? How do I do this? How do I do that? And a lot of times you run into brick walls, but you can't let every brick wall stop you. You got to go around it. You got to figure out how to hulk and break through it. Like, whatever it is that may be your vice, you got to figure out how to get through those divisive moments. And so that's just been what we've been able to do, is just like, how do we continue to build, whether it's networking, whether it's the relationships, whether it's, finding people who are like-minded and understand your vision and your model. Like I said, everybody's not going to understand it. Everybody's not going to support it. It's going to be some people that's going to come back in the next season and be like, hey, I'm sorry, I missed out on this opportunity, whatever. It's up to you, to kind of build your future. So the fate is literally up to you. Nobody else can make or break your business here in Nashville. And for some time, and for some reason, I honestly thought that it was just like, man, people don't care, or like, the gatekeepers or this, that. And it came to a point where it was just like, you know what? I don't care what they got to say. They don't make or break me. Yes, they do have the relationships. Yes, they do. They may be in this situation, but if I continue to build in my silo and I build something that they can't deny and they can't control, and something that they want a piece of, whether it's data, whether it's the marketing, whether it's the business, whatever the case may be, I've got something that people want. And like, how do I sell that to the masses? How do I figure out how to make sure that they need me before I need them? And, sometimes those mindsets are they're very unclear and they're very uncertain, but when you have a purpose in your business, you got a mission, your business will thrive and you will thrive. I think sometimes we let others detour us off our journey. And so like, when you got a journey, you've got a mindset, you've got something that you want to stick to and you want to continuously do, you just got to sit down, you got to keep writing, you got to keep doing, you got to keep going, don't give up. And I think that's what, a lot of times entrepreneurs, we focus on, or we're always looking for some piece of advice or somebody to give us a sign or a blessing, and a lot of times it's don't give up. And it's gonna be some times where you want to give up, and there's gonna be some times where it does make sense for you to give up, or deter or go to another business venture or whatever the case may be. But I think staying consistent and staying on that journey, that marathon, and consistently day in, day out, putting in the work, and don't give up, because I think the people that end up making it, the Mark Cubans, or the people that you see, like you said, at the awards, or on TV or Instagram or whatever, they didn't give up. They kept going. They were consistent. Some of them might have trust funds and and VCs and all those things, but they still kept going. They still were consistent. They may have lost money. May have lost time, may have lost friendships, whatever the case, but they kept going. They stayed consistent and they stayed beating the pavement. And so I think that's like my piece of advice to like the next entrepreneurship is find somebody that can help you navigate that, but also don't give up.
Thank you, Carlos. And to bring it back to your family and kind of what they started in North Nashville a couple generations ago, it's like I hear you talking about some maybe more creating more collective spaces for not just collaboration, but like holding some sort of sacred spaces where community can pour into one another in a way that is real and palpable. Going back to the community center beer garden, right? Like where is that? You know, I know I've heard a lot of people say, you know, we're not Atlanta and Nashville, but like looking at places like the Gathering Spot and where maybe we can have a little bit more say over the structures and systems and programs that exist to support us.
Yeah. I think Nashville we're working on it. I think the biggest thing though is equity, is ownership. And so without that, a lot of those places, they can't be held. So if we don't own it, if we don't have any equity or we don't have any say-so, none of those places or spaces can be done. They can only be done once a month at the Black Market or at the corner-to-corner graduation or a Twendé event or, like it's a once-in-a-blue-moon thing. It's not something that can be consistently. And I think that was kind of the piece of what we wanted to do with the Black Market retail store was kind of have a place similar as a Alkiba line. You can go to Alkiba line, you can hold space there. You could, you could see your culture there just as much as Plaza Mariachi or the Horn Coffee or like some of these places in other communities where they like, it's literally the cornerstone. It's like you go there for your coffee, your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner. You have networking events there. You have mentor sessions there. You have yoga. It's all these different things that can help you along your life and your journey because at the end of the day, everybody's going through life. Life is constantly spinning. So how do you make sure that you're inserting yourself in somebody else's life, or how are you helping somebody else get to the next stage or place in their life? And so I say that to say, like, Nashville, we're working on it, but it's not enough and it's not happening fast enough, especially for those people that are coming from out of town. Like, you got Oracle, you got Amazon, you got like all those places, they have people of different cultures coming to Nashville. And so when they come there, they're like, hey, what is there for me to do when I come to Nashville that resonates like when I lived in Atlanta or when I was in Texas or when I was in LA or Miami or New York? And so when you like, hey, we got this, but it's only this day, or we only got this, and so it forces you to immerse yourself in different environments. And so I think being able to kind of like create something here in Nashville and be able to work with like-minded people that understand it's not just that we're coming in with this heavy hip-hop culture. It's like culture in general is something that is everybody's buying into. You have work culture, you have, all different types of cultures. And so how do you fit that into Nashville? How does Nashville continuously grow with that? Whether it's, at the Titan Stadium, they have this new cool, experience to where, it's similar to like Atlanta Falcons where they got the Rise suite, and, you might see some artists or you might see community advocates, mixing and mingling. I think that's what we need here in Nashville. We've got to figure out how to break down the paradigm of like, I'm up here, you're down here. It's like, no, we need to figure out how to balance it, because if not, we're going to be tainted in a sense. It's going to be like, oh, it's just famous people and it's just regular, everyday people. And sometimes we ask ourselves here in Nashville in general, and I'm sure in other cities too, people have these same questions. It's like, do they need us? Will Nashville continue to thrive if they say, hey, we don't really need y'all. Y'all move on to Clarksville, Murfreesboro, all these surrounding counties and stuff like that, and you do whatever it is that you do. But it's like, how does Nashville continue to thrive, and how do we keep that authentic culture that we have outside of the honky tonk and the hot chicken and the cowboy music? It's like we have so much more to offer, and so it's like, how do we break down those layers and be able to kind of showcase what we have to offer to other people here in the city and outside of the city? And so I think that's like, I feel like I've been taking on that role as like the culture liaison of like, how do I like showcase and show and put other people in a light to where they're able to thrive and, you know, have these partnerships, these relationships. And I think my mentors have been doing the same for me. And so it's like, it's trickling down. And so it's like that seed is like somebody's watering the seed, and then I'm watering the seed right back. And then, you know, it's like the next person has to continue to do the same thing. And so if we keep watering those seeds, eventually it's going to grow into something. It might grow into like something wild and crazy, but then it might grow into like a bonsai tree or something like that, and it continues to, you know, create this plentiful, you know, environment. So I think that's the trajectory right now as I see it.
I'm blessed to know you. I love chatting with you. I hope this is another of many conversations. I'm gonna go ahead and add, I think you said culture liaison to the lineup.
Okay, all right, cool. I'll take it.
So, and yeah, I'm grateful to be here, to learn from you. You know, if there's any ways that I can continue to support Twendé, the EC, with regard to all the different projects, businesses, initiatives that you have your hands and mind in, please let me know. But it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carlos.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. And thanks to the David and Rebecca Clemens family, along with funding support from Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee, for making this podcast possible. From the Chase Studio at the Nashville Entrepreneur Center, I'm M. Wilder, inviting you to engage with our Twendé Accelerator program by visiting ec.co/Twendé.